we are very good at this. We are good at it, if I do say so. But things like Jessica giving me a call in Nevada, or Kim giving me a call in Nevada, or someone in Massachusetts saying like, hey Lisa, I'm really worried about this, or Robin giving me a ring and saying, hey, you know what? I'm really concerned about this one senator that he just went on the news and he said this terrible thing and I don't know what to do. That gives us an ability to think ahead.
Right.
And that's what'll really change it. So as much as we can continue to do this work at this level, I'm so honored to be on this stage with these women. But realistically, we need you all to talk to us. We need you all. Yes.
I want to get more involved in
And that's
that.
the thing too, is we do call on y'all a lot. Like I know y'all have gotten my phone call. Hey, hi. I do need help writing a testimony. The hearing is in like 40 minutes. I will come pick you up. Would you like cookies? I will make you cookies.
She's not lying.
I'm not. But that's the reality is we call on you a lot. Call on us, please. It'll help us move forward to the next level of this. Yeah, I appreciate that.
One of the things that Tricia talked a little bit about, and you touched on, Lisa, is that this policy landscape is not taught. Our basic government civics classes in elementary school and high school don't begin to cover this. And so how realistically can folks get engaged? What do they need to know?
So here's something I learned actually from that wonderful woman down there. So, what does it take to get involved? Do you breathe air?
That's right.
Good job. You have hit the bare minimum credentials. I'm very proud of you all.
As long as you're breathing.
Realistically, what it takes to be involved is not like you don't need a law degree. I do not have any graduate level training. I dropped out of high school.
Come on now, speak it.
All right? I got a bachelor's degree, that's it. It's in psychology, it has nothing to do with politics. I use it all the time. But here's the thing. It doesn't take more than picking up a newspaper and calling on your friends. It really doesn't take any more than that to be involved in policy. Policy gets overly complicated when it gets into the gobbledygook of the policy speak, and you go, I have no idea. Yasmin, it's expungement, not criminal. I'm like, yes, I know. I'm sorry, gosh. But that's the reality, though. We all are going to make mistakes in this. I came into this just with a brain that likes spreadsheets, so it worked really well for me. And also, it works really well for Robin, who loves to go and make sure her voice is getting heard. Having you in Rhode Island was such a blessing. Robin. So realistically, what does it take to get involved? Frankly, you don't need the fancy software, you don't need this. There's nothing preventing you. That Eleanor taught me is anyone can walk into the legislative buildings.
That's right.
And testify. In most places. With fair warning and lots of notice. There's a whole different story. But what I'm trying to say is there is nothing preventing you. There is nothing barring you from walking into those buildings. They are all, truthfully, I personally believe they are only that scary to keep us out.
That's right. Yep.
The first time, and again, it was Eleanor who took me in federal. We went and did meetings with our legislators, or with Congress at that point, and brain totally worked. So we went to, I think it was the Russell building. It was one of the big buildings, and I realized, oh my gosh, there's a thing with a belt, and it's going to take my stuff through that machine. Oh my God. And then I walked in and I went, Oh, there's like nothing preventing me from knocking on this door. I'm not recommending you do that. I am recommending you give us a ring and let us know you're gonna do that, and we'll help you form a really great, conversation with that person. But frankly, there's nothing preventing you from really engaging in this work in a way that's meaningful.
Thank you. You know, I was hoping we were gonna have time for questions, but this panel is so phenomenal, and so we have a few minutes. Okay, well, one more question for our panel, and then we might have time for a couple of questions. So, if you are mustering up some questions, we'll get to that. Eleanor, when we look ahead, we're anticipating the next year or two. What challenges, opportunities do you see? Is there any priority states or pieces of legislation that we're looking at?
You never know where opportunity is going to present itself.
That's right.
That's why we have to keep our eyes open and in touch with each other. So I think we're gonna be doing some targeting exercises, and obviously Nevada, for example, is definitely on our radar, right? Live Together, it's on our radar. And making sure that Maine sticks and Maine doesn't become the example not to do. That's very important. But opportunity from Hawaii to New Hampshire. But reading these bills, like, I'm not a lawyer, but it's taken me years, but my revelation was, anybody can read a bill and it pretty much jumps out at you. Jay Benke in Oregon called me once and she said, this bill starts out talking about breastfeeding, and by the end, it's legalizing prostitution
Right.
within strip clubs. It was the craziest freaking bill I had ever read in my life, but
Yep.
just reading it, as Jay did, revealed that by the end, which most legislators don't read the bills.
Right. Facts. Big facts.
Jay picking up on that, and we defeated it. We defeated what was a backdoor, what Yasmin said was a backdoor effort to decriminalize prostitution within strip clubs. Insane. So it's just keeping alert to opportunity, staying in touch with each other. We win every time. Jessica Newworth is a friend. Jeanette and I both know Jessica Newworth, who once said, no, you know Jessica. She once said, we win every time we're sitting at the table to make the debate.
That's right.
It's just, they don't want us in there. They don't want us at home. So we gotta bang down those doors sometimes to get in there, but once we get in there, the sunshine is our friend.
So wrap.
That wasn't an answer?
That was definitely an answer. I think we have some time for a few questions, yeah? Yeah. Lauren's gonna run the mic.
The only thing I would ask with regard to questions is keep it to a question. I know we are all in different jurisdictions and we want to share information. There will be time for that, but please, just in the interest of time, just a question. So anybody's hands, go ahead.
Nevada here. So you guys were talking about the data collection, and I was like, we don't even have data now. So, how would we go about that if we could actually pass like partial, or even now, is that something that we should write into law? Where do we go, or how do we do it?
I think there's a really awesome data collection breakout session happening later today, so I would highly recommend that session, but. Answer the next year.
I think you can do it in different ways. I mean, you could definitely write it into law, but I think even like service providers keeping and collecting their own data can be
Yeah.
very valuable. Like we did that in DC, for example. Local providers like Courtney's House and others were collecting really valuable data. For example, how many unique referrals they were getting per week, what the demographics of the, individuals they were serving were in terms of age, race, ethnicity, gender. All of that is really valuable because when the bill came, we were saying, this is what it looks like under full prohibition. Could you imagine what service providers would be dealing with if you were then to repeal, prohibitions against pimping, purchasing, brothels? So just even collecting data locally from your different providers would be invaluable, especially those serving youth, those serving adults. So even just doing it like that is a great place to start. And then, of course, if you could legislate it, and then also asking law enforcement to provide the data on sex buyers, we have found to be invaluable. So if you have partners, trusted partners in law enforcement, that is valuable too, because the juxtaposition. fire data with survivor data is very powerful.
There's a question about there, and then I see Nancy in it.
I'm just perplexed at this full decriminalization movement, and I'm just wondering who is funding this? How has it become so powerful?
What a great question.
Yes.
So there's a lot of different sources of funding. There's grant funding. Open Society Foundation is one of the biggest funders. And, there's a lot of other ones, like the OBR Foundation. And then there's, other big funders that are funding a bunch of the groups that we're up against. So like, ACLU has been a big proponent. Unfortunately, human rights organizations like Amnesty International,
Yeah.
Human Rights Watch are also big proponents. The industry, so what we're up against right now in places like Rhode Island and in New England, we believe, we can't prove, is being funded by the industry itself. So like organizations like Decriminalize Sex Work, we believe are being funded by the industry itself, especially in places like Rhode Island. So it's difficult to track that money, but we believe the industry itself is funding them. And in places like Nevada, I wouldn't be surprised if the industry itself was funding.
Right.
They have an interest in, and also places like, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that has an interest in becoming
Yep.
legal and legitimized. So it makes sense. So that's what we're dealing with. And in some places, like in Oregon, it was the self-prescribed millionaire, Aaron Boonshoft, who was bankrolling the whole effort. Unapologetically, it was all over the papers, so.
And the Boston Globe did an article too.
On decriminalized sex work, yeah.
But showing where all the funds and who it was
Right.
behind it, it was intense.
Right.
It was intense.
And George Soros.
Yeah, Open Societies is funded, it's the Soros family's foundation, but there's a number of them. There's, Andrew Forrester is another big funder that supports legalization, decriminalization, and some of them basically funnel their money to and from each other, so it's,
Yep.
it's varied sources.
So I've heard you mention the equality model, but I've seen how you've slid into survival model. And I want I want the folks to understand why you're sliding into survival model.
I don't like the equality model as a term, personally. I don't think it makes sense. Some people still use it. I think a lot of people use it, but I think many of us here, if I can speak for those of us on the panel, we have found that it doesn't tell you anything about the approach or the issue. And in places like Illinois, for example, where the proponents of full decriminalization are called Equality Illinois, we absolutely can't use it.
Right.
So we have been toying with some different terms, like the justice model, and like every country has used a different term essentially because it's no longer just Nordic countries. So we're promoting the survivor model.
I like
and
that.
That's what we've been using, and so if
I
you
dig
like
it.
join us.
Yes. I like it. I dig it. Most definitely. Woo woo!
One more question? Great. One right here.
Why not the abolitionist model?
Because here in the United States, abolition is really associated with prison and police abolition.
Right.
So it's already associated with that movement. But otherwise, I think, we all associate it with prostitution abolition, but in the US, that's already kind of been claimed.
And we don't want to. I like the survivor. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I love that feedback, thank you. All right, well, thank you to our panelists.
Woo woo!
Dr. Reed, everybody have to
Yes.
listen to the debate in which Jasmine Baba on National Public Radio debates with Caitlin Bailey of pro-prostitution.
When?
It's on the podcast, Apple Podcast.
Apple
You can share
Podcast
that.
last week, but we'll send it to everyone.
Oh, send it.
Oh yeah, I want to hear. I want to hear that.
And people can download it.
Case study of the street. Let's go.
We're gonna take 2 minutes to switch panels, but I wanna just take a second to just give you a little bit of information about where we were with this panel, which was our weekly conversations led by the Jensen Project. And the only way we make impact
What's up, everybody?
is through collaboration. So at this point, I'd love to have our next panel, Mitha,
Yeah.
Sonia,
I think what I'm gonna do, you guys, is can you guys hear everything really good? If you can hear really good, I'm gonna just put my phone down because I have to run outside, but I'm gonna let you guys still hear. Because this next panel is gonna be really good. Let me know if you guys can. Okay, good. You can't. Good morning, gorgeous. Your hair looks beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how to use it.
That's why I'm just leaving that there. And
I'm getting bumped around. Come on, girl. Here we go.
I just don't ever leave that.
Like, oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm coming. 1 and 1/3.
It's just a habit for me.
1 and 1/3. Maybe it'll inch to 135.
Yeah, I think most of the stuff out. There you go. There we go.
Will you just make sure they don't take my phone?
Yeah, mine too.
I'm not gonna record because I want to hear. You're fine. It's better for me, so I'm like, I want to make sure. I can't take notes. That's just and I want to come back and go, oh, that's Kate.
And know the people outside. No.
Exactly.
That's how we get to Kentucky. Because see, years ago, we had a function solved for that. So what happens in Kentucky doesn't get out.
Right here. I got it. I hear you saying. Yeah, they're the
That's how
But I got it. How are you, Nina? I'll be right back. It's lovely to see you, little one.
that was from city.
Yeah. Really? All right.
Yeah, I'm heading back into those messages.
I'm like, I think it's on like
That's what.
But you yeah, I've been calling it.
Okay, you got to go
I have called you for days, and then I thought you were mad at me.
No, here's what it says. You got the J. Westbrook J. F. There you go.
Okay.
That's what happens.
Or Alo, you can see it, your email is Alright, so anyway, we are at 1:30, 1:30.
I will do it.
Oh, you mean like, I'm from Kentucky, I'm not in yeah, I'm actually. Absolutely. I do, I
Thank you, ma'am.
took long enough.
Right. Can I get over here, please? Can I right in the restroom? Thank you.
Can everybody please take their seat?
And it was just like.
We'd love to have everybody please take their seats. This is the worst job in the house.
Where we at?
Thank you, thank you. Okay, quick picture, and then please everybody sit down.
Here, I gotta have one. Hold on, I gotta have one.
Okay, so we gave you the national perspective. We gave you, hopefully, we gave you a deeper understanding of what things look like across the country on the legislative front. And we talked a little bit about decriminalization and the need for the equality model, or the survivor model, or the abolitionist model. That's still a little bit of a work in progress, but what we know for sure is that we need it now. This next panel was deliberately after the first panel, because we looked broad, and now we're gonna look really, really focused into what has transpired in one jurisdiction. Because I think that this one jurisdiction tells a really, really important story. So we are moving from the national landscape right into New York, into a case study of the street, where de facto decriminalization had become the reality in New York City. And these have been the experts on the ground doing just really remarkable work.
Hi, good morning everyone, welcome. We're super excited to present on this panel today to discuss some of the work that we've been doing in New York. For those that don't know me, my name is Mr. Chowdhury. I'm the Program Director of the Empower Center in New York City, part of a wider organization, Sanctuary for Families, and we offer comprehensive services to people in prostitution, survivors of commercial sexual exploitation, and we were actually inspired by the equality model that was pioneered in Sweden, where we brought together a variety of service providers in one location to provide comprehensive services. So we offer medical, legal, social, and economic empowerment services to our survivors. As well as direct client work, I am heavily involved in legislative advocacy, and alongside our lovely panelists, we work very closely together on New Yorkers for the Equality Model, which is New York's bill that we're trying to pass, the Sex Trade Survivors Justice and Equality Act. So, as we have mentioned many times, there's an app. So please read, the full bios of the panelists on the app. But I did want to give a brief introduction of one of our panelists, so you can get an idea of the wide range of expertise that we have here today. We have Sonia Osario, the Executive Director of the National Organization for Women, New York. She's worked to protect reproductive freedom, elect women to office, and advocate for survivors of sexualized violence. She's worked to shed light on the sex trade industry, hold traffickers accountable, and uplift survivor voices. And most recently, she's been prominent in a campaign to pass a bill in New York to remove the statute of limitations for sex trafficking survivors, which currently is 5 years. Hasn't passed yet, but we're on the road there, and that's thanks to Sonia, definitely. We have Michelle Kaminsky, the Chief of the Gender-Based Violence Division at Kings County, Brooklyn, District Attorney's Office. So Michelle started at the DA's office in 1992. She joined the Domestic Violence Bureau as a felony trial attorney. And in that capacity, she investigated, prosecuted, and tried numerous intimate partner assaults and complex homicides. And then from 2014 to 2022, Michelle was the chief of the Domestic Violence Bureau, which serves victims as well and is focuses on human trafficking, crimes against children, elder abuse and victim services unit. And then, last but not least, Melanie, which I feel needs no introduction, but I definitely want to do her justice by showing some of her highlights. So Melanie is the Outreach and Advocacy Coordinator for the Coalition Against Trafficking in Women. She's a survivor of sex trafficking and prostitution and is separately a speaker, an activist, a leader in the global fight to end prostitution and commercial sexual exploitation. She became an activist at the age of 14, which we heard a bit about yesterday if you were at the introduction. And with over 13 years of advocacy experience, she's both a national and an international expert consultant and speaks avidly to the intersectionality of race, child welfare, juvenile justice, LGBTQ+ rights, and other systems of oppression. So, as you can tell, we're all based in New York and we work very closely with one another. And I wanted to just quickly give a brief overview of what New York looks like in terms of prostitution laws. So, New York was the first US state to enact strong anti-trafficking legislation, recognizing the links between sex trafficking, prostitution, and demand. Purchasing sexual acts, also known as patronizing, is a crime under the New York law currently. It's a Class A misdemeanor. However, law enforcement rarely targets sex buyers, and even more so in the last few years. So in recent years, there have been less arrests of people in prostitution, with law enforcement recognizing, much of the vulnerabilities that led many of them to be there, which is great. But what we're seeing is a hands-off approach that's also been applied to sex buyers. So this is allowing them a free pass to act with impunity. And so what we're seeing in New York is essentially a de facto full decriminalization model that's being implemented. And then in January 2021, we introduced a bill, the Sex Trade Survivors Justice and Equality Act, also known as the Equality Model Bill, the Survivor Model, maybe. And so that's New York's bill that we're trying to advocate for. And just speaking to sex buyer arrests, I wanted to share some statistics that are available on the arrests and convictions for sex buyers in New York State. So this was taken from a memorandum that was put together by a pro bono firm called Sanctuary for Families. And I know it's a little small, so hopefully you can see, but the slides are also shared on the app. But what we're seeing is the number of charges for patronizing has significantly reduced from 2019 to 2009, from 2009 to 2019, which is where all the statistics are covered for now. Almost half patronizing at the third degree, and it remains virtually zero for second degree and first degree patronizing. And then the number of convictions is even lower. And this can be assumed to be down to many other reasons, such as investigative issues, court processes, burden of proof, etc., that's linked to the current statutes on patronizing. As well as a culture that does not hold sex buyers accountable for the violence and harm that they cause in the sex trade. And so I'm going to be asking a lot more questions for our panelists about, what it's looking like. But, as a result of this de facto, we're seeing the decrim model, we're seeing a result of rampant street prostitution in New York. And then we have prominent cases like this, also known, so this case is an active case right now. It's known as the Gilgo Beach serial killer, also known as the Long Island serial killer. There's a trial date that's set for July 30th at the moment. And a bit about the suspect. So Rex Heuermann, he's a 59-year-old Nassau County resident, an architect in New York City, Manhattan, and is the key suspect charged with 6 murders, 4 of which were discovered on Gilgo Beach in Long Island, known as the Gilgo 4. Most of the known victims were women in prostitution who advertised on Craigslist, and I really wanted to highlight that we can't screen for sex buyers, and this is, they would never have known that this is someone that is potentially going to be a threat to them. And so I think I saw this on, Yasmin posted something and and it really resonated with me. Although not all sex buyers are killers, far too many serial killers have been sex buyers who target people in prostitution because, they believe that their lives, have no value. And so this panel, so just to kick it off, we are going to be engaging in discussion and talking about some of the discussions we've had on how we want to decrease demand for sex buying in New York and how we've collaborated to make that happen. So, so I wanted to start with Sonia. So I mentioned very briefly that we're seeing a visible increase in street prostitution. Would you be able to give us a bit more detail as to what street prostitution is looking like in New York City now and how your organization is addressing this?
Sure. Hi, thank you so much. I would like to, I was thinking now when you're talking about the Giggle Beach murders. I mean, just in the last few months in New York City, we have February 8th, Denise Arancibia, a woman, devoted mother of two sons, who was murdered at Hotel 54 by the man who had a rampage across the U.S. And, she had a full-time job. This is something that she did very privately, once a month or so when she needed extra cash. Very key times before Christmas, when she was sending her kids off to summer camp, things that her daily expenses did not cover. And, her family, of course, has been so destroyed, and her two sons are left behind. There's another case that this pimp, he had two women living with him in his home that he controlled. And he decided to take out insurance policies on one of them. And he killed one of them, the person, and dismembered her. And I just went to that trial for one of the days to see one of the other witnesses give testimony just in the last couple of months. Those are just two other murders that are that we know what happens in this, how dangerous the sex trade is. So in New York City, there is an increase. It's all related to so many things. We did decriminalize loitering for the purpose of prostitution, so that has made it easier to be out on the street. We do have a very vibrant brothel operation, where we are seeing so many. It used to be mostly Asian. It's now becoming much more Latina with all of the asylum seekers that are in New York City now. We have tens of thousands of women. Their services are running out, their shelter is running out, and this is an impending crisis that's incredibly scary. And of course, there's a lot of international gangs that work throughout the United States and in New York, as well as local domestic traffickers. I and Gigi and Taina and Melanie and Michelle, we have all spent time out in the field in the last 6 months or so. Some of these tracks that were problems 20 years ago are now back. And that is incredibly disheartening and disappointing to all of us, and to the legislators and law enforcement that also worked in collaboration to change this. So I've spent most of my time on the Penn track in East New York, and Melanie and Michelle will also talk about this, but it's just striking to see women, all very young. The average age is 18 to 23 or so, and in the winter, barely dressed, in the skimpiest of clothes, in that frigid tempered, in those frigid temperatures. And we've gone out with the sting operations with NYPD as well as with the Salvation Army to do outreach, giving them hand warmers and such. Did you want me to talk a little bit about the sting operations we've had, Michelle?
Yeah.
Well, we've all been involved in them. So you'll hear a little bit about this later when we have a discussion on journalism. But we did have an expose in the New York Post on what was happening there, which was very, very effective in getting the mayor's attention. We had a press conference where we directly asked the mayor, what are you going to do about this? So, and then we coincidentally had a meeting with the police commissioner the following day after that press conference and those reports came out, that had already been scheduled separately. And he said, we're gonna do it. And right there, we started making a plan. And he brought in people who were going to be able to plan and execute it. Following that, and all three of us were at those meetings that they invited us to, where we went into the big room where they do their comm stats. And it was an extraordinary operation from the commanders of all the different precincts that were gonna be involved, to the vice squad, to legal, to public relations, to the electronics folks. So much goes into it. There was so much to plan, because we were insisting that they were gonna have to impound cars. We needed it to be really effective for the Johns, and we really wanted to get the message out there that it's gonna cost you. If you're gonna go out looking for sex, to buy sex.
That's right.
There's gonna be repercussions. And so it's like, where were the tow trucks gonna be? How were they gonna use, like, 3 levels, clearing first the traffickers, then clearing out, telling the women that they had to go, then bringing in the decoys. It's not easy to actually make these arrests. It's easier, I think, online.
Right.
Because you can bring them to you. And in Hillsborough County, Florida, they had a really successful sting operation recently that worked on for 3 months, and they arrested 100 buyers.
Yep.
Wow, they just brought them in. And I have to say, kudos to Hillsborough County, the way they then maximized those law enforcement efforts. The sheriff there went nowhere without bringing his big posters on easels with all the men's faces.
That's right. Yep.
And they thought of everything. They had their B-roll for the newscasts, and what they did was they just filmed when the men. So it was just like the midsections of people, the midsections of the undercover cop opening the door, the guy coming in, you hear his voice talking about it, and bringing any of the money. And so you never see anybody's face, but you see the cuffs, behind him go on. Over and over and over. I think they hired the same guy who might have done the January 6th. Executive producer, but it was very effective. I feel like I'm talking a lot, and I know we have a lot, so maybe I'll pass it on to Melanie to talk a little bit about your experience.
Yeah. No, I wanted to talk a bit more about the NYPD sting operations, and I think one of the things that stood out to me is that they, invited us, advocates, direct, service workers to be involved in this planning stage, and I think that was crucial. We were able to provide them ways in which they could approach this in a trauma-informed way, and I think one of the, greatest things we've mentioned many times before is including survivors, at the planning stage, the during, and the follow-up and afterwards as well. And so, Melanie, you were part of these operations, so I wanted to ask if you could share, what your experiences are, the run through of what happened on the day of these operations, and what stood out to you as a survivor.
Yeah, great. So this is the question where I get to be the good guy, so keep that in the back of your head. So, as the good guy, I wanted to say that there were some successes. I think the first thing is, New York City is a jungle if you've never been there. And that includes working with law enforcement in New York City. So the fact that we were able to even secure meetings where NYPD is asking for advocates to come in, certainly, let alone survivors to come in, and this was them reaching out to us, which I think was a really amazing thing. Just having us come into the room, as Sonia started talking about, seeing the diversity of different sectors in law enforcement in New York City and seeing the different departments in NYPD coming together was, I want to say historic. I don't know if there's a lesser word for historic, but I think it was pretty historic in New York City, just seeing, everything from Vice, FBI, human trafficking, all of it in one room. I think that was pretty cool. On the day, we went out at night, I think prepared all day. I don't even think I had enough snacks, but all day. And we went out at night and we basically, Sonia started to touch on this. We had 3 phases. This was the initial plan. The first one was to clear as many criminals as we could off of the street before we started any operation. So we had the cops go out first and try to remove as many of them as we could. In the second stage is where we try to do the outreach to with the predominantly women on the street. That's where I came in. So myself and other advocates that worked with me, we went out on the street to talk to some of the women directly. I think the first thing that stood out to me the most as a survivor was just kind of feeling like I had this feeling of deja vu because I've been out for a while, but I'm under 30, right? So I haven't been out 30 years, 40 years. And for me, this is not that far removed from seeing what it was like when I was trafficked in the 2010s, right? And walking on the street, I think you said, Sonia, that we had this problem 20 years ago, and now we're seeing the same tracks come back up. So it was just really interesting, walking down the strip and seeing girls that were 16, 17, 14, back in G-strings, behind trucks. It wasn't winter time, but it wasn't summertime either, right? So just for me, I think initially the first thought that came in my head was like, damn, we back here again, So that was a little unfortunate, but I felt a personal gratification when I'm going up to these women and they already looking at me like, and I'm like, in my brain, I'm looking and I'm like, I was there not too long ago.
Right, facts.
But I came up and I was just like, hey, listen, I'm not a cop. And then initially they were like, they walked away. And then when I was like, well, I got something for you. And it was like, what you got for me?
Right, right.
I think that was like a personal like joy because I was just like, yeah, I know exactly what you're thinking right now. And then after we did as much outreach as we could, the third phase was then sending in undercovers and decoys to try to get the remainder of the sex buyers that were there on the street.
Right.
So in me being the good guy, I will say that this was a very collaborative effort, and I think that it was one of the first that we've seen in New York City where there was actually some kind of practical action behind the verbiage. There's been a lot of talk over the years about like, we need to go out there, we need to do stuff, and then we haven't, and I think it's like the first step in the right direction. So I'm happy to say that, and I was happy to see that we were able to reach some of the women that were there, or rather the young girls that were there on the street. But again, it's the first step.
Right.
Thank you, Melanie. And yeah, about collaboration, like I think that's the main thing that I want to highlight was the success of this because as Melanie mentioned, it's a jungle and working with law enforcement can be challenging. And I think I remember during these planning stages, initially, NYPD wanted to go in and arrest the people in prostitution as a way to get them to access services, which we know is ineffective. And so there was a lot of, education on our end to tell them that this is not the way to go forward. And they were very receptive of that, and they didn't do that. And so that was something that, was definitely a success. So Michelle can offer a unique perspective on the side of law enforcement and as a prosecutor. And so I wanted to gather, more information about your involvement in the operation and if you had information on some of the outcomes and the follow-up from, the buyer arrests or during the operations.
Sure.
So I want to say that this was an incredible operation. It was the breadth of it. There were over 100 members of law enforcement involved. And what was astounding to me was how collaborative all of this was, and really how it started with a coordinated approach, that there was the press coverage around it, and then the response by the police, and then the police bringing in the advocates into the room, that main room at One Police Plaza, the Jack Maple room, where all official policy by the highest level officials take place. And it wasn't just police officers and FBI, but advocates and survivors were in the room, and they were being asked their opinions about the approach to the operation. So I just want to give you a visual of what the Penn track looks like. So it's an industrial area in East New York, and it runs about 5 avenues north-south and 6 avenues east-west. We have the New York City sanitation depot is out there, so there's lots of sanitation trucks. There's a private school bus company out there, and there's corporate offices for a clothing company called the Rainbow Company. But there's no stores, there's no apartment buildings, there's no houses. So at 6 o'clock at night, it's desolate. And the track really comes alive at around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we all descended upon the 75th precinct in East New York, and there was about 100 of us in a main conference room for the planning. And the phase 1 of the operation consisted of law enforcement clearing out the Penn track. And what that looked like is you have traffickers parked in cars with tinted windows in like very, very expensive cars, just idling on the track. And you see young women and girls out in the street next to the sanitation trucks. And they're just waiting there, watching what's going on. So the police were there, waiting to make the arrests and get the traffickers off the street, and they were issuing, the way they did it was, they issued summonses for tinted windows, for violations of the vehicular traffic law, tinted windows, idling, and through that, I'm going to give you some statistics as to what happened in phase 1. So the first operation on the Penn track took place on the night of August 17th into the morning of August 18, 2023. They were able to make arrests of 3 pimps on the track. One, they arrested him for tinted windows was the basis of the stop. They found drugs in his car, and then they, as a result of that arrest for the drugs, they got his telephone. We were able to
That's what got everything else. That's all they needed was his phone.
Information on his cellular telephone. So there was a search warrant executed, and right now we're in the middle of a trafficking investigation as a result of the contents that were pulled off of the telephone.
Okay.
The second pimp, was given a summons for tinted windows. That was it. There was no contraband in the car. The third was given a summons for an open container of alcohol, but the United States Attorney's Office in Brooklyn has indicted that individual. At the time, it turned out that they were under investigation for trafficking, and it ultimately resulted in a federal indictment.
Come on.
So then Melanie just talked about what phase 2 looked like with the advocates out and survivors walking on the track. The third phase was undercover police officers and the arrest of buyers. There were 10 buyers that were arrested, and everyone's car was seized, including the traffickers. In fact,
You try to sell children? That's what you did.
I believe it was that they took over the parking lot of the McDonald's in East New York. East New York, and that was the ground
get some
to remove
waffles?
all the cars, and They were seized and ultimately agreements were reached with the police department and the buyers to get the cars back, but it cost them. And first of all, these buyers were coming home without their car. So
That part. Stop selling children.
So the second operation occurred, August 24th to August 25th. There was a lot of momentum at the time to have the second operation as a result of all the press and advocacy. So, in phase one trafficker was arrested for tinted windows and a gun was found in his car. While he had no history for trafficking, he had a violent criminal record, so there was an indictment against him for the gun.
Hell yeah,
3
Chris.
buyers were arrested, all cars were seized, and ultimately, the cars were returned after a period of time. In exchange, they had to pay to get the cars back. And,
Had them in their pockets.
the third operation, which occurred in
That's right.
I believe it was in November. On phase one, there were 3 traffickers arrested. 2 received summonses for idling and tinted windows. One of them had an open warrant for a firearm. So that individual was arrested and indicted. In the undercover phase, 4 buyers were arrested. 1 had felony level drugs on them. 1 was a probationary police officer.
Lame ass.
Which resulted in that probationary police officer being fired.
Yeah, also.
And since that time, there have been 3 more just undercover buyer operations on the track, which resulted in 29 buyers arrested.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to add on that first sting, there was one sex buyer who did not have his car impounded. And that's because he rolled up on his scooter.
Yankee scooter too. Lame ass, didn't even have a fucking car, he showed up on a scooter.
So as opposed to,
Lame motherfucker.
you know, after these sting operations and
Right,
after
what
some
a
of the
cheap
press,
ass.
so what is happening that people are going to be held accountable? You know, I would say that it's difficult because it seems, this is a business, it is an industry, and there's
Oh, yeah.
what they do. And like any good business, their strategies change, right?
Yeah.
So there are now new areas popping up, streets where they're going to new places.
Yep.
We had, you know, this doesn't even start to look at what's happening online. I mean, I quickly looked at some of, I track cases. I mean, we have Tony Siddons, 38, you know, Crips gang member on Instagram. You know, he was able to recruit a 14-year-old girl. That story over and over. These are cases that are already in the system. You know, another one on Instagram. They talked. He waited until she was 16 so that she could get on a plane by herself.
Yep.
Brought her to New York. I mean, it happened like this.
Yep.
These things happen so quickly, like in a couple
They're
of
grooming
weeks,
our
somebody
babies
can
on them
steal your
fucking
daughter.
apps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the game
And
room.
he, you know, he took her back to his place. He
Yeah, we
raped
got
her,
some people.
and he put her out
Kids
on the
Minecraft.
that night. And it was the coldest night of the year.
Yeah.
9 degrees. Now, luckily, her family was on it and immediately was looking for her. And, you know, within 24 hours, that information was at the 75th precinct, and they were able to, full stop, go out and find her and get her, and get her home. So it was a very bad, you know, 24 hours for her.
Was he prosecuted?
Oh, yes, yeah, these are cases that have gone through and the convictions are already done.
And me, can I say, not a bad 24 hours, but all the time that he was coercing her.
Exactly.
That time.
Yep. Yeah.
So our trauma wasn't 24.
No, it was all the way when he started grooming her.
Yes.
So I just wanted, what was astounding to me, when we were out for the first operation, it was clear that there were, that the place was flooded with police. but it was the impunity of the pimps on the track. They didn't care.
No, they don't
And
care.
that was
They definitely don't care.
the reason, and the buyers too, because at one point there were police everywhere, and you just saw rows of cars, backed up traffic, waiting to continue to purchase.
Shit, the police is involved too. Oh, yeah. Stop playing. The police is involved too.
So, well, here, so this was for me to see this, and I think, and I know one of,
I know we don't like talking about it, but we're gonna talk about it when I'm in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an instance when I was on the street, I was alongside an applicant, named Ann, and Ann and I, were trying to reach as many of the girls on the street as we could, and then we had an instance where, a pimp had rolled up in his car on us and just became really disrespectful. One of them spit at us, the other one tried to get me in the car. So, yeah, it's not uncommon. I think, going back to the question of things that I noticed, I'm trying to be as respectful as possible.
Don't do it.
Yes, we can. That's why it's about to turn the room to speak your truth. Speak your truth.
You know,
Melanie.
I recognize that there is
That's why
a
we here.
disconnect with, and I was trying to save this for my next question, but there is a disconnect with survivors that are on the street that are doing these types of things and the folks that we are walking alongside when we're doing these things.
That's right. Come on.
So, you know, I recognize that even in that moment, that was considered scary and dangerous for a lot of the people that did this thing with me. And we had conversations about that after this thing had happened, like, it was dangerous and the pimps were brazen, and yes, they are. And the buyers are even more brazen.
Yep,
Yeah,
100%.
de facto decrim in New York City. But that wasn't uncommon for survivors.
Exactly.
I was used to it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, that's the thought that came into my head that I was trying to be respectful about, that, you know, we all do this work, and this is, I think yesterday we were talking about the importance of having survivors at the helm of everything that we're doing, right? I'm watching all of my colleagues, no disrespect, you know, saying like, oh my God, like the pimps were gonna take her and like spitting.
Right,
It's like,
right.
it's regular shit.
That's everyday life, honey. That's everyday life. This is the work we do. This is the work we do.
I think
And
that's where
live.
collaboration
Shit.
piece is really important, because for me, I wasn't as afraid as some of my colleagues, and I recognize that it's not enough. I recognize I'm sick in the head because that's
Right.
okay to be okay with that. But this is.
But that's the life we live.
When I was on the blade, that's what it was.
That's what it was,
For
right.
me, it was just repeating and seeing that.
Yeah.
I think that the actualization, the realization here that's important to highlight is that we kind of not got rid of it completely, but it minimized a lot with the laws that we had in place over the last couple of years, and now seeing de facto decrim and it coming back up, the increase is of a high magnitude.
Yep.
So I think our goal with the survivor model, I'm gonna start using that one better now.
I like that.
Our goal with trying to stop full decriminalization and trying to get rid of the de facto decrim that we have in New York City is to go back to reducing those numbers, is to go back to a street where we can walk through where pimps are not spitting at me or calling me out and all of that stuff, right? Like, we wanna get back to that part, and I think, unfortunately, New York City, I'm sad to say, I thought we would be the first state that would have the equality model passed, and we failed at that. So, you know, I think our goal now is trying to reverse this defect.
Can I say something? I think that a lot of the answers to that is my organization hires survivors.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Our driver is a old ex-con, okay?
That's
Who
right.
can talk to the men when they roll up on my van.
That's
You
right.
know what I'm saying?
Come on.
We don't have that. I'm Miss Brenda.
That's right.
Ex-name Breezy.
Yep. Same thing in Louisville, same thing with me. Yep.
Yes.
Come on.
And I never lose my credit.
That's
But
right.
we need to hire more survivors to do the outreach, and that's my theme, so that's why I wanted to say that.
Well, I agree with that 100%. That's how we do it in the Ville too.
So, I did want to just, do I have room
That's
for
right.
one more question? Because I, discussed, what happened during the
Yeah, I don't get paid.
operations, some of the challenges. So I did want to, ask Melanie if, you could kind of comment on, what else needs to be done to tackle this situation. This has been a great start in the direction of where we want to go. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, or anyone else even?
Okay, so this is where I get to be the bad guy.
Come on, girl.
Hence why I started with the good guy stuff. So I think, as I mentioned, this was a historic, great start for New York City. In my 15 years of advocacy, I've never sat with NYPD in their planning room, so that alone was a big moment. I think personally for me, it was very successful. Even just listening to you, Michelle, naming off the results of that night, and the subsequent nights was new to me. I didn't even know that 29 buyers got snatched up.
Snatched up.
But I do personally feel that there wasn't enough done after that.
Right.
And this is not to slander New York City. I'm stating these things because this is where I think the people in this room, in each of your individual states, these are the kind of things that we need to be looking out for, right? So like fake collaboration or surface level collaboration. We had one
Right.
great sting that included survivors and then no follow-up.
Right.
Right, and then if we did have any follow-up after that, and when I say follow-up, I'm talking about with myself, with the survivors and the advocates, there was a lack of that. So I think if we wanted to see this continue, consistency is key. And this goes for the women that are currently on the street. If you come one time and then give them a gift card and then disappear, it does nothing.
Right.
Right?
Facts.
There were girls that I was making contact with in that first thing who wanted to take the gift card and then was like, I want to, but like, he's right behind me. Right?
Right.
And the cars were inching up behind her, behind me.
Right.
So I think the lack of follow-up is super, super imperative to tackle. There was Michelle started to mention, there was some press the night of the sting. I have mixed feelings about that.
Right.
I think it became very performative. So I think in your individual states and working with law enforcement or in any sector in this movement, I think it's super important to be mindful of performative actions. A press conference is great to get our message out. If there's subsequent action behind that,
That's
going
right.
to support the message that you're giving in the press conference.
Yep.
But if it's a press conference to just say, oh, look at the great work we've done, look at the survivor that's here.
Yep.
That's not real.
Right.
And that's where it becomes performative, and I think that needs to be tackled. Additionally, and I know that this can be a breakout session in and of itself, what I saw was that the collaboration was there, the diversity in the departments was there, but it was still being tackled from a law enforcement perspective.
Right.
And I think that is where there's a disconnect in all of our states that are doing these operations. And I understand that there are restrictions and there are parameters that law enforcement cannot override, for example, or per se. But I think we're trying to do these things on the street and we're collaborating with advocates and survivors, but we're still operating in the confines of law enforcement.
Right.
And arrest is still at the high on the priority list, and trying to get a conviction is high on the priority list. So I find my mixed feelings about sting operations come from the idea that, like, I want to do the work, I want to get the women off the street, predominantly women off the street, and the young girls off the street. At the same time, however, if we're doing a sting and there are 60 cars of officers behind me, nobody's leaving.
Right.
My girls are not gonna come with me, they're not gonna trust us, and this is where the nuances come into play, right? Because that day on the street, I had some amazing officers, by the way, walking alongside myself and Ann, who said, we can't leave you for your protection, right? So that's a confine or a restriction in law enforcement that they couldn't get around.
Right.
But on the flip side, if we're trying to establish true trusting relationships with the people on the street, I can't do that with detectives on my shoulder.
Facts. Right.
So I think what we need to do looking forward is trying to develop a strategy that truly works for all sides.
Yeah.
While upholding safety is the highest priority for everybody involved, but also that is genuine enough so that people in the community can actually establish genuine relationships.
Yep.
And there's no way to do that when there's a huge mistrust of law enforcement.
Yep.
So I think it's a longer conversation that we're trying to have in New York. I think it's a longer conversation that all the states across the U.S.
Right.
are trying to figure out how to leverage relationships between survivors and law enforcement, and we've been having this conversation for many years. But I think that overall, now I'm back to being the good guy, I do think overall that this was a really great first step for New York, and I think that we can continue this path if we continue to have more collaborating planning sessions.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Exactly true. And if you haven't tuned into Melanie's podcast, Exit Wounds, you have to. And it's actually something we can think about, because it is hard being out there, the Starbucks gift cards and the hand warmers when it's really cold are great, but you're in this environment where you literally have maybe 10, 15 seconds to connect with someone.
Right.
I find myself being, thinking about these women at night for weeks on end, and then I started like, who's got a tattoo? Who's gonna know what they're missing? It's just very difficult, but maybe we can get them to come to us. I mean, one of the questions, she has a number of key questions in your podcast with other survivors. What would you tell your younger self?
Right.
I kept thinking about those women were tuning in, how they do get to know you. So I just wanted to add that and hope that everybody, if you haven't listened to Exit Wounds yet, that you will.
I just wanted to say what's happening at the Penn Track today. So I checked in with the commanding officer of the 75th Precinct where the Penn Track is located. And over the months since the first operation took place, they're seeing half the amount of activity. They don't know though, where is the activity, where is it
It's a
moving?
hotel.
There's no data to say.
It's just moving off the street.
Exactly. Is it
Don't get it
moved to
confused.
another
Yeah,
track?
well-
Is it gone online?
Yeah.
What's taking place at
It's
the
on
Penn Track now is there's half as much
So let's not push
activity.
up.
And
false
also
information.
what the
Send it.
captain told me is that since the operation started, he has not received an out-of-state notification that there was a young girl missing, and intelligence is saying that they're on the Penn Track.
That's bullshit.
So, what it says is when you focus on one area, it's like whack-a-mole, so like where does it then move on to? So they don't know where the prior Penn Track activity has moved to.
Michelle. Thank you to all of our panelists. I know that we've run out of time. Do we have time for a few questions? Yeah. So we don't have time for questions, but I think you can ask the app if there is. So definitely follow up, and we're around for the conference. So come up to us, and if you have anything, feel free to ask.
And there's also a 15-minute break, so you can find one of these amazing women and ask them questions if you have questions. Before you go.
Hi, everybody, me again. Maria, can I get the slide up? No? That's fine. So I just wanted to let everybody know, kind of for the next hour, we've got, well, the next 15 minutes, you've got coffee, so please enjoy coffee. I know I will. The next hour after that is going to be breakouts. So we have, wow, that was really fast. Oh my gosh.
Hold up.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the breakouts that we have are Healing Beyond Survival. And in the app that says room 14, but we're actually going to move that to room 11. We've got a lot of RSVPs. And then who can empower change, leveraging policy and advocacy as nonprofits? That will now be in room 14. All right, so those two have switched. I'm sorry. And then behind the scenes, crafting winning strategies in communication and lobbying, that is actually upstairs in room 2-3. So if you go to the lobby, turn left into, you'll find the hallway for the room. And last, we have overcoming barriers, listening to the voices of Black women. That is in breakout room 15.
Is that the one you're in? All right, that's what I'm going.
Where are you at, girl?
I'm going to Leslie.
You know, Melanie was talking about, the stings and all of that. and getting them to
Yeah, I've got
bond
the
with
same
law enforcement, do that. But this crazy thing where they're wanting social workers to go out in the street with the cops, and we're rebelling against that, thinking that, you know, if you pair us social workers with cops, we can't do our job.
Right, well, even when I've done a sting with them. And when I did a sting with them, the way they did it, I was just like, there's no way I can support this. Because it's not, you're not victim.
All it does is endanger you.
Well, that too, but I was more worried about the victims that was endangering. That's who I was. I can carry my own. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about that.
I know you will.
But oh fuck yeah, I'll shoot another motherfucker up. I don't give a fuck. But the victims that can't do that, that's who I was like, what are you fucking victims endangering? Like, what are you doing?
So, you know, she's talking about how can we get real meaningful trust. I'm not sure. I don't know.
So the chief is on administrative leave because somebody in LSPD came with her talking about somebody was being sexual assaulted. She didn't do anything about it. Look at this girl's face that says, surprise, surprise, consider we just want a whistleblower case with SVU, and they didn't do anything about it.
So much for the federal oversight.
Yeah, apparently she's on administrative leave. Lame ass bitch. I have no idea where I'd go. Alright, you guys. I'm gonna go have a cigarette. Well, we got a 15-minute break. I'm gonna go smoke. Get some more coffee. Yes, I am. Excuse me. I like your outfit. That's cute. I drink decaf, so. Oh, well, that's good. I have no idea. I like your jacket.
Where's Solar? Where's Solar, but now it's become like a security.
Oh yeah, it's very cute. I love it.
Thank you. Is it all just regular?
Well, this is decaf down here. That's
decaf? No, I need.
She's like, no, thank you. No, you're good. There was one over here.
Right on your left, right there.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, my brain's definitely not even close. Yay, I should play basketball. It's like 1 in a million chances I never get up. You're fine. No, you're good. I'm gonna go smoke. They said 13. I want one of these shirts, man. They're $30, but I want one so bad. It says not for sale, but yeah. I'm getting one. I want one. I don't know how, but I'm gonna get one. That's the hotel I'm at. It's nice. I like this little seating area. That big ass air. It's nice though. I'm in DC.
They're always saying, so she learned to do it herself. She's 10. I'm like, cool.
Your trip will take you far. It doesn't take me far, but
I just got strong old fingers. Can't do it.
when you're young, guy, you're not learning anything.
I don't even want to.
When you're young, when you're like a
Yeah, I thought you said you're young like that.
Oh,
No, I don't even want to.
We are a friend talking to her like, yeah. She's like, we don't know. I feel like the numbers were like just disappear, and we're like, no, they're just moving online. But she had made a really good point because I did a sting with sleep, and they tend to, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of safety for the victims that I felt like. You know what I mean?
how have things been since Bill's gone?
So even before Bill left, they don't there's no movement.
I haven't signed up for anything yet. I don't know where to go.
I didn't either. They ended up putting me in a room. See, my phone automatically popped
Because
this up.
they have nowhere to put them. So it's like, not de facto frame, but kind of like they just don't want to
See?
deal with it.
Mine's on automatic Google Calendar anyway.
I think that'd be good for you.
Yeah. I just have to find that room. I figured it would be. You know me well.
Well, you're in the beginning of everything, you know, so you need that.
Yes, you know. That depends on how you look at it.
You're in the beginning of speeding up on
Yeah.
That's 100% yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of stayed behind the scenes.
So I'm quite certain I did not get a contact.
Okay, good.
How do you guys find out about these conferences? Because the only reason why I found out about them was like I was on the survivor call for
I get emails, like,
Yeah, I do too. I get emails.
from who?
Alicia Bernard.
Yeah, that's like a lot of them.
Because they were
Usually if you're in that, like, if she knows your email, then she'll usually send a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
So I'm locked in then.
Yeah, you're locked in.
Yeah.
program.
Okay, Lighter, where'd you go?
I'm just now getting caught back up and getting back involved.
Numbers aren't there, so
I had to take some time for me.
I know, I got one.
separation.
But I want to get back involved, and that's why I'm getting more plugged in this, because I want to do things more on a national level.
Yeah.
I want to, obviously Kentucky, because when you're doing national work, that obviously includes your state, but also helping just with other stuff, you know.
It just blows my mind. I'm like, how can I help? You know, like, what can I do?
There's so much that.
It just
Yeah.
depends. And it depends on
I know they're always needing people like to testify just on our experiences. Sometimes giving conversation on legislation bills and different things like that. Yeah, I just try to stay plugged in with like I said, her and all the other ladies.
I'm gonna go back in for the breakout room.
Okay. Oh, cool. Thank you, Katrina. Yeah, there was when I went in there.
Let me, I can set up like a formal email too, like between you and Brent, and be like, really like passionate about this.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I'm gonna chill for a little.
So Brent was like, he's a mover and shaker. Yeah, so you need to like connect him with a lawyer, and you guys can, and he wants to partner with survivors. I was just talking to him this morning, and he was like, I really want
More. Okay.
So.
Are you talking to her about?
Oh, she's good friends.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I was gonna be like, you really should talk to her about that. But that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because I think you're one of the ones I was like, I bet she would. But that's awesome. Okay, good.
So far, where I'm at.
I think I'm gonna go where Leslie and them are speaking, the black women.
Which one's that one?
It was about
I chose Healing Beyond Survival.
That'd be a good one.
Florida,
That'd be a real good one.
one willing to sponsor.
Yeah.
But it
is a newer, younger rep than.
Oh my gosh! I didn't realize I chose the one that my director's
There you
talking
go.
in. That's funny.
See?
I didn't even mean
There
to.
you go.
I thought it would be funny if I picked one that she wasn't, and I accidentally picked
Pick the
one
one she was.
Yep.
There you go. Well, you know, everything happens for a reason.
That's so funny.
What Lisa was talking about. You're like, there's no one stopping me.
I know, I'm like, hello, can I talk to you about trafficking?
No, yeah. No, I would get connected with Lisa, and I would get connected with Brett, and then you don't have to be doing this like on your own.
Doing the Survivor monthly meeting with
Yeah.
Lisa, which is great, and I updated Yasmin's channel with Lisa on it because Yasmin actually met through one of her colleagues.
Yeah, the girl.
Sorry if that got in your face.
Yeah.
Fucking witness.
I tried to.
Not blowing the way I wanted to. I tried to blow it that way, and it went that way. I was like, my bad.
Oh my gosh. What the heck is happening?
Like,
So yeah. Oh, and guess what? This state attorney that does nothing is gonna win this advocacy award.
no. When Rachel White won the award for the FBI, I was like, fuck up my face. Oh my gosh. Time to go.
Remember when I was telling you? Remember a second ago when I was telling you I testified against SBU?
Yes.
One thing that got me upset was when I said that consulted you got promoted to head up to the traffic. I said, oh, you got me fucked up if you think that's gonna happen. That's when I really steamrolled everything because I was like, no. We are not doing this.
Yeah.
I understand I can't control everything, but I'll be damned if that motherfucker's gonna be the head of human trafficking. No. Not he has an active case going on. What are we talking about? Against a human trafficking advocate.
I did like them talking about this, how they broke down the things and talked about like the lessons.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you on the stat thing. So I think it's higher. Oh, no, it is definitely higher. What happened is a lot of people are moving off of the blades and the trucks and moving into online stuff. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like,
Our survivors have done our in-law facilities like
there's more grooming and shit that go,
I forgot to fill this.
Oh, yeah, you gotta fill it up.
My bad.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're good. I forgot what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
No.
Oh, but yeah, they're not up to, not only that, but like a lot of people, because of the distrust of all of the bullshit, but even the systems that are in place to help, they're not telling people like what's going on. No, they're not.
you know,
No, we know.
There's more fucking grooming and shit going on Instagram. Everybody's like TikTok. I'm like, have you checked out Instagram? Yeah, you run on Instagram, TikTok, X, but I mean, I'm just saying, there's more. I believe there's more going on Instagram than TikTok. There is.
Good. Yeah.
There is.
I just got it. So.
It's just like I think there's a lot more going on OnlyFans.
Yeah, it.
Yeah. Well, any platform would be as anything. Yeah.
Like
That's not the only thing that goes on. Oh no.
I always have
try to
like
get
custody.
kids
I've
through
got
the
the
gaming
law
system
custody.
now. That's the biggest thing. That's what people don't realize, especially when it comes to the kids. We're thinking of like, you know, maybe adults, you know, and don't get me wrong, there are some kids on some of these apps, but mostly, dude, the grooming shit, the gaming things, the gaming rooms and shit like that.
My sister texted me.
There's so much grooming that goes on in those. We got people, you know, that Minecraft game or whatever. There was like, I think it was like 2 people that got arrested for grooming and then ended up beating up with the children and shit like that. I'm like, yeah, oh yeah.
All right,
Yeah, we get a couple of
being
kids
like
becoming
a
full-time
full-time single parent again, when this was not like.
Yeah, we sure did.
The plan, so I didn't travel much. And it was like a lot.
I just like, that's why I like when survivors at the table, because I like when we speak up.
Yeah. Yeah, I started traveling again on the chair. It's really, it's like, I need it. Like, I need it.
What's up, everybody?
So, yeah.
I've always lived here, so it's just in the traveling, but that I need for my brain has become the garden. Like I have.
Part of what?
The garden.
Yeah.
That is my very simple.
I'm gonna be lost all the way. You got it. You'll be downstairs. You're not going too far.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. My daughter.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, so that has been my, like, now all are on the house. Everything is done. So it's like, why do I?
Yeah, you're done with grad school, so.
Yeah.
So you guys get a little insight of what I do a little bit.
Kendra's working at Mojo's over in Avondale. Okay. So she's waiting.
And why it's important for survivors to be at the table and have conversations.
And it's, okay, now let's focus.
And I freaking washed my hair this morning. I didn't let it dry. I'm just like, oh.
I was telling Lisa G, like, I was so excited because you and I, like, we've been like ships in the night so much, but I love.
You need a menthol? I was gonna say I got Newports.
I get to spend more time. I show you.
I was really excited. I was like, and I was excited to go with the city council. The city council was like,
Yeah, they're like $15. Oh, they don't sell menthols? Oh, girl, I'm so glad I brought fucking cigarettes. I bought 3 packs before I came. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take smokes with me.
No, I walked around. I finally found a gas station. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, I've developed.
Here, that way you have cigarettes. I've got a couple packs. It's only 2 in there.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
What's your name?
Summer.
Summer.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, gorgeous. You're welcome. Yeah, that's crazy. You can't buy menthol. I was like, here, girl, take 2 of them. Yeah. Well, I called my friend. I didn't even think to ask about menthol, but I was like, hey, you live there. How much are cigarettes? He's like 15. I was like, what? I was like, that was like when I went to fucking New York. Yeah, so I brought a couple. So yeah, I'm good. I got another pack at the hotel. So.
Yeah, I smoked Mavericks too. I wouldn't have paid 15 either.
Yeah.
But non-menthol,
I didn't even think about asking about that. I guess I got to start asking that when I travel. Cause
It's like we're actually gonna start.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard they were, I heard like out in California and shit, but I didn't know DC does it too.
Like that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, babe.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You too. Yeah, there's survivors from all over the country that do the work.
The idea.
And have been recognized on a high level of the work that they do at this conference, at this particular conference. And so we've worked on all levels as far as bills, and Massachusetts did as well. Damn, that's crazy, dude. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette and then I'm gonna go in.
She was telling me that because of Arise, which she had me aside for Arise, and they just recommended.
Yeah,
it's a great community to be part of.
But as you can hear, there's a lot of advocacy. Like I keep telling people, I know lots of people in New York that do the work. And I've been to New York plenty of times. They tried to legalize prostitution. We stopped that. I was part of that. I'll have to post some of my New York pictures when we did that. My sign went viral. We need jobs, but not blowjobs. That shit was great. We do tons of court support. We do tons of legislation support. We do a lot. And so I love being around these women because every single woman that's in this building or male survivor that's in this arena, they're game changers.
Yeah, okay, that speaks volumes. Yeah, that's really big.
Yeah, there's only a couple organizations that I would consider working at like full-time as an employee at Rise.
Will you send me more of your speaking engagements? Or post more, because I like listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to one
I'll
you
send you my
did.
CV.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Okay. I listened to you a couple months back. I forget which one you did.
Oh, Chicken Brown. No.
It was really good. Who was it with? I don't remember. It was a podcast. I listened to one of your podcasts.
Was it New York Times podcast or was it Imagine Freedom?
It might have been that.
Okay. Yeah.
Where do you do your podcast on?
I don't have my own podcast.
Oh,
I was just
just different interviews you do?
Yeah.
Kristen keeps on it. Kristen started a podcast. Kristen King.
Yeah.
Started a podcast. She keeps on asking.
So what are the, does anybody know what the details are? Because Chris came in and said that, the Supreme Court is going to uphold women's rights for abortions. What does that in detail mean? Are they going to take it back federally, or are they going to keep it state? Because if it's being left up to state, that's the problem. Because a lot of states are taking it into their own hand, not to only ban it, but then criminalize it as well. So I'll have to look into that. Maybe Katrina or somebody can send me something.
I worked out. I did not. I was not thinking about it.
I considered yesterday work. The plane landed at 9. We like did the whole tour, with the White House, the walk.
Do you know that all the White House was? Because on TV it looks so big.
I came to DC with my son, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and you could get pretty close to it.
Oh, okay. So it's for the abortion pill, okay.
So I actually managed my sister, my brother-in-law, my niece, and my
Thank you, Seeger's mom.
Yeah, because I didn't have anything happening, this week. Yeah. I did. You have to email your senator and thank her. Yeah. I may or may not have gotten really
What's your message?
And I would really love this experience for my 18-year-old niece who needs someone.
Everything's red. Their taxi cabs are right here.
Did it work? It did. That's all about. I'll pull that survivor card too sometimes. I'm like, fuck yeah.
So when I was younger, when I was younger, I used to pull the foster kid time, right?
Alright, we're gonna go back in.
Yes. I just don't use it often. It's when I do, you're like, no, I'm like, it's that special power move. It is not. Yeah.
No, it's definitely.
Yeah, we don't need a cab.
Now when I'm like, oh, this looks like opportunity.
People have exploited me with it.
This guy's in a black tie suit, bow tie suit, on a scooter.
Yes.
I love that.
Oh.
I'm gonna make it.
Yes, I am ready.
We're gonna be late. Oh, we are late already.
Oh, gosh.
Do you know which room you're going into? No. You do not?
I do not either. I was gonna go into Leslie and room, but I don't know.
I was gonna poke my head in. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
Or nuts?
Where's the bathroom at? Alright, I'm gonna meet you guys. Where's the room at? I need Leslie. The
Leslie.
black women conversation.
Oh, with Audrey?
Yes.
The overcoming barriers. Leslie, you mean LJ?
I don't know, I just know it's the topic of, here, I can get to see.
That they're gonna be replicating, okay? And that is,
Okay. Where's the other one?
Is Leslie a speaker?
Yeah.
What's her last
Leslie
name?
King. It's on the black women conversation.
I mean, yeah, she. Are you sure? I don't remember a Leslie.
Yeah, that's the one I want to go to.
Oh, wait, that was this one.
Okay.
Did you not see her in that?
No, I didn't see her.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
Yeah, but this is led by Audrey.
Audrey, yeah, that's the one I want.
like they talk to my white counterparts. It was already, I was being called names, I was a cracko, all that language is being used to me. They even took my belongings and they never made it to the police station. I did, but everything I just had to go turn tricks for to get.
Yeah.
They took and discarded it as if it was nothing. Okay, like she didn't need it. I was always stopped and asked, why am I in this neighborhood? As if I didn't belong. When I'm in the criminal justice system, I'm always put in detailed work details that are kitchen cleaning. I never got to go out and get the good money that the other individuals were making. A lot of my sisters ended up being not even offered the job programs whatsoever. Our time was a lot longer than our white counterparts. And I'm just saying this because it's factual. It's not about, oh, we're on a black and white thing. I'm a mixed race individual, so I ain't got nothing against black or white. But I do know when it comes to how we're treated in the criminal justice system, the courts don't even listen to us. The probation officers give us so many hoops to jump through. You can't even make it or comply, so you're automatically, violated on a regular. They don't even ask you, do you have a bus card? Are you homeless? Do you need to go somewhere to live? None of those questions are asked for us. It's just assume, get it the best way you can, and when you don't, I'm sticking you back in, and you got a year hanging over your head.
Right.
You got a year hanging over your head for 4 years. So you're set up to screw up.
I think that's what people need to know, that it's more likely that women of color, black women, are going to go through the criminal justice.
Right.
Yes. They're not gonna have the choice.
Correct.
I've worked with too many women over the years, and usually what happens is white women go to treatment.
Right.
They're immediately put in
Automatically.
treatment, some kind of a program to get the help they need.
Yellow brick
Black women are thrown into jail.
Yeah.
Where most likely their kids then go into foster care. You know, they have a hard time getting their kids back.
Right,
I mean, everything happens to them because once you get that record,
That label.
nobody wants to rent to you.
Right.
They don't want to hire you.
Correct.
And so they're more likely to go through the criminal justice system. No, but they won't have a choice.
Yes,
Yes, and it goes into what you touched on, you know, even working with young people and families, you know, because of a criminal record, the Department of Children and Families are invading black homes, right, of traffic victims, telling them how, you know, what to do, not to do, and their children are being removed from the home at a higher rate than a white woman who might have been trafficked and has her children. That woman will get more chances and more in-home services where the black and brown children are being removed from their homes.
And the sad part about when they take our children, because I've had that too, they do not place them in black homes. Now my children who are African American or multi-race like me are placed in Caucasian homes.
So to say that I don't know how to raise my child, they're saying they know better than me. Come on. So they put them in a place that is nothing familiar to them, and they're saying, I'm victimizing my children. You just re-victimized my child, and you traumatized my child. And you want to blame me for it, because you say you're doing what's best for the child. Come on. Instead of helping and giving services to the whole family to find out what's missing.
Right.
What's missing amongst this dynamics for the male partner in this relationship as well as the female, and leaving the child in that environment with some kind of services.
Thank you, Joy. Very good. All right, so I know we've been here today and we talked a lot about policy. We've been hearing a lot about policy. Why is making changes around policy so important for Black and brown people who experience human trafficking? And we do not, and I'm including LGBTQIA plus trans people. Jeanette.
Why it's important? To save their lives, because they're dying at a higher rate than white folks are. That's why it's just a matter of life and death.
I think too is that when we have policies, when we create policies, it's for a reason. It's so that we can make some change, some big change throughout the state, throughout the nation, whatever level we're making that policy change on. But the thing or the problem that I've had in the past is that a lot of policies aren't followed. Right. We can have policies on the book, and they will never follow them. Some of them don't even know the policy exists.
Correct.
That's why it's important for us as advocates and, you know, whatever you do, the direct service providers, we know what the policies are that are on the books. So we can tell the lawyer, did you know you got this to work with?
Right.
Because a lot of them don't. We can't assume that they know all the policies. And we hope that that policy will be able to save or to help the individual that's in court or whatever. But a lot of times it doesn't. Yes, and when I think of policy change, I also want to speak to the white allies that are in this room.
Right.
How important, nothing gets changed without a community effort.
Correct.
Right? So even when we go back to the civil rights movement, there were white people marching as well.
Absolutely.
And I want to say this more so for the white survivors that are in the room. Because we've had this conversation where they might feel like I shouldn't say anything. That is not my place. But it is your place.
That's right.
It is your place.
That's right.
Right? Because you see it as well as we see it.
That's right.
And so to be able to support policy, I know for me, I don't want anyone to be bought or sold, particularly children, but my passion, when I think about a full decrim, is that if it was fully decriminalized, what I know for a fact, the demand will go through the roof in Massachusetts. Who will be used to fill the demand? Black and brown children and Black and brown women who don't have a choice. And what we have to remember with the sex workers movement, a lot of them are educated white women, and when they decide, I'm not going to do this anymore, they do have a choice. The other thing I'm going to say that I think is very important when we talk about policy, they have been, particularly our LGBTQIA plus community, they have been brainwashing them that sex work is work.
Come on!
And that the only way is in selling yourself. So we are up against a long fight, and this is why policy change is so necessary.
I said I wasn't gonna be messy because the experts are up here. But I didn't see this on the agenda, missing and murdered Black women. Especially in the sex trade, okay? Black women are 13% of the population in the nation, but we're 40% of the missing and murdered.
Correct. Right.
I sit on the council. I tried to push something for that. They came back and told me, because I come from Chicago, I said my community was glad I went to the table. And my table was part of my Black and Hispanic community to go there and represent. And then I get here and I asked you, they have a full table for indigenous women who they deserve.
That's right.
But are you gonna give us black women a table? Because I thought you had one.
Right.
And I came to give my ideas. And then you tell me you don't have a table? I said, don't look at me as a black woman, look at me as a voter,
Right.
an American, you know what I'm saying? Okay, don't look at, don't look at me, but, and how I come to this table and you don't have anything for me. But you can go back to your community, I'm already doing it.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
thank you, Brenda, for what you do.
Thank you, but I'm saying, they don't wanna give us a table
Yes.
for, on a federal level.
Yes, yes.
To, do the, state part, and if we don't, we're gonna die.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.
Continue to die.
Yes. Well, and one of the things too that I want to talk about, and Brenda, you were talking about this yesterday, and we talk about like the healing process, right? The recovery process. So I asked this panel, what are some common challenges victims and survivors face during their recovery process?
I can answer that. My life is frontline work. Imposter syndrome, right? Feeling less than and not enough, or, a lot of times when I engage, you do have to offer something. You do have to offer something. Hey girlfriend, how you doing? And first they always look at us like, you're the police, or I'm a social worker by trade, and I don't come under the guise of a social worker because I'm a survivor, leader, professional first. I'm a survivor, I have a lot of lived experience, and so I prefer frontline so I can have those conversations with the woman and let them know. I come right out and say, girl, I'm you, you don't have to be scared of me. So a lot of times I'll park my car away, I'll dress down, and I'll make sure that I get to put my boots on the ground and walk alongside them, face to face, and engaging with them. And so if I just say, hey girlfriend, how you doing? I see you all here, can I help you? A lot of times they be like, get your ass away from me, like, what you want? What's in it for you? Whatever. So it does have to come under the guise, because I've been like, people say things to me about this big piece, but I do have to say, I got something for you. Would you like to get some coffee? Would you like a cigarette? They really oppose
Cigarettes, everything.
And I'll tell you, cigarettes have helped me talk to so many.
I promise you.
On the streets of Massachusetts, on Madison Cass is crazy. Blue Hill Ave is crazy. And when I go out there with one pack of cigarettes, I can talk to 15 people.
That's right. That's right.
Women, a cigarette. Start the conversation. And I can give a card. And thank God I always got something in my car, in my trunk, or in my backpack. That give them like something to change, a snack, coffee, Dunkin' Donuts card or whatever. And you got to be able to meet them at where they're at.
That's right. Meet them where they at, not where you want them to be at.
And they don't want to talk. And here it is. Do I try to, I've heard this say, oh, you're buying them. No, I'm not, honey. But I remember when I was on the street, and somebody came up to me just to say, oh, I'm an anti-human trafficking activist.
You get laughed off the block, honey. I promise. And you better be laughing, it's the only thing you get. I'm just saying.
So we gotta be able to meet folks where they're at. Engage
Right, me too. I do too.
With the pace that they're at, and just keep showing up.
That 100%.
I've been out there more than usual. I used to go out like maybe once or twice a week. Now I'm just about out there every day. And what I don't do is I don't take footage of them. I take footage of the times I keep record of them here.
Right.
I'm going to those local black and brown churches and I'm saying, hey, do we have this program in the church? Can we bring about awareness here? I'm willing to do volunteer workshops. And the reason why I volunteer is because they give back, because I feel like God blesses me tenfold. I'll do a workshop, but then they'll pay you later to come back, or they'll give you a stipend or give you a gratuity. So the goal is to like really do that frontline work, go have a conversation with them, let them give you hugs, love on you,
That's
shake
right.
their hand, don't act like they got the germs, because I'll tell you, the women from Mass Ave been sleeping on the street for weeks.
Right.
And the smell is horrendous. But I don't let any of that affect them.
That's right.
Give me a hug when they want to follow me.
Facts.
That's the thing, is you better hug me.
All right, thank you, Stacy. So now, come on, babe.
So I work for an anti-human trafficking nonprofit. And is it better to not have a non-survivor approach and just let us try to do funding, is it inappropriate for us to even try to be out on the street?
What?
No, it's not.
That's a what?
It's gonna be, it's like, it would be nice that you definitely have a survivor with you, and that you definitely understand the culture and the language.
It's most important to have survivors out. Let them do the fundy work.
The system,
Yeah.
okay, as a survivor, the system does not want us to get close to the
Right.
survivors.
Facts.
As a matter of fact, they will ding us.
Right.
You are, getting too
You already
close.
know. Yep.
You got bias now because you're close to
Yep.
them,
Yeah.
you're
Yep.
acknowledging them.
Right.
Okay?
That's the only place I
And
wanna
the
be.
system does not want us to really address this. That's part of the need for systemic change right there. Because you are right in how we should be engaging, but the system will not let us do that.
Because the system is set up to keep us in the system.
Well, you just gonna have to cut my stations. That part.
That's exactly.
That part.
Excuse me. You wanna add something, and then Joy wants to add
Very
something.
quick, because I know we gotta keep moving.
Yes, we
don't have
do.
a lot of
Yes, we're
time.
trying to.
The thing is that I just wanna say this for white women that work with black women. Because when I started this, there was probably a handful or less of black women that I know that were, working in this system. I was one of them. You have to believe a black woman when she tells you what she's going through.
Come on.
Because it's gonna sound so far out there.
Come
on. What? In your mind. What? What? Oh, no, she's just not listening to her appeal. No, what she's saying is right because, see, she's dealing with racism. That she might not know how to explain.
Yes.
Hey, it's because I'm a black woman that I gotta go through all of this.
Exactly.
And then you have to be wanting to go the extra mile.
That's right.
Now, I've met a lot of white women.
Break the rules!
You gotta take that extra dive. You gotta go a little bit deeper and
That's
ask
right.
the right questions to the POs, to the whoever, the judges, the lawyers, and all that. Let's look at this a little bit differently here. Why is she doing it, having to do this?
That's right.
And this lady
That's right.
Nobody wants to do that. Take that step. What are you afraid? I'm not coming down on all of you, I'm just saying, there's a lot of fear.
Right.
And if we don't start listening to black women, when they come, because there's a lot of white service providers, she's gonna be stuck forever.
Yep.
And reading her, excuse me, reading a person.
Yeah, reading
At
her,
the
yeah.
at the end of the day, when community members, to answer her question on should a non-survivor be out there, the fact is, as long as you're out there for the right reason.
Right.
And it's not to check a box.
Right,
Our
that part.
Victims in this lifestyle are community members.
Right.
We're from the community.
That's right. We are the community. Shit. That's what, we are the
Out
community.
there, I need you to approach me in a manner that you would want to be approached.
That's right.
Don't
That's
come
right.
to me talking about Jesus can save.
Come on, you
Speak. Say this.
Don't give me
I
the phone
say
back.
that for this reason. Calm down.
I had to put mine down.
Because at this moment, I am in a circumstance that I don't see God.
That part.
God is punishing me.
That right.
It's not for me.
You better
that I
speak.
cannot become a follower again. It just means at this moment, that's not how you need to approach me.
That's right.
Approach me as if I am of status.
Yes, that's right.
Because I am eating out of trash cans, sleeping under bridges, it's because you didn't bring me home. So when you look at it, don't look at it as I'm out here doing this because it's wonderful. I'm out here because there are no other options.
Come on now.
Invite me to your house. You didn't
That
tell
part.
me about a shelter that was going to welcome me.
That right.
Shelters don't welcome sex traffic victims.
No, that's right.
When you think about
Understand
feeding
that.
me, clothing me, giving me resources, they need to be appropriate for me.
That's right.
Not you.
Right,
And
exactly.
so when I say that, because I'm a 22-year street outreach vet, I still hit the streets.
That's right.
I'm also someone who lived on the streets for 7 years.
Yep.
Back to back, 24/7, under bridges and out of trash cans. I
Come on,
need you to
Joy.
understand, I am an educated individual, but I have been to no Harvard. That does not mean I am less than. That
Right.
means I'm a human being and a child of God, just like
Come on, girl. You better speak.
Now, you need to respect
That's
Joy.
right. Mhm.
Yes, Joy, and all that you just said, excuse me, all that you just said takes me to the next piece. When we talk about power and control.
Come on.
That is the question of, and Jeanette, I'm gonna start with you first. It's gonna kill it, you don't say nothing. Get some space. Who are the buyers and sellers, and why are they not being held accountable? I want to focus
Sorry, dude,
on the
Okay.
Everybody.
Guys, don't take it personal.
Right.
Okay.
Get out your feelings.
Look, y'all, somebody's gonna say, but women are involved too, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're talking about who, the numbers, who they are. It's white men. It is white men with expendable dollars. It is white men that see all women, but especially women of color, as their right to access their bodily orifices.
I love you,
Whether
Jeanette.
they pay for it or not.
Hey, hell yeah!
Okay? And here's the, okay, I gotta finish this because the criminal injustice system circles these buyers with their patriarchy, their misogyny, and their femicide. Okay, the whole system is about protecting them, not protecting us.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you.
Correct.
Now, so the next part of the question, Benita, why aren't buyers held accountable?
Come on now.
Yeah, I have that.
Because of who they are.
Why aren't they held accountable?
Because of who they are.
Yeah.
Because of their stance.
Hold them accountable, but why aren't they being upheld? Now, we did in
Power and
Minnesota,
control,
we started
baby.
one of the first John schools, that I got a lot of flack from a lot of women about why you doing that. Somebody had to do something.
Right.
Because they didn't need to just walk. They didn't need to walk free. So we started a John school, and it wasn't to, you poor thing, you gotta come to school all day. It was showing them how their behavior was hurting our community. You live where in Edina? We're here in the inner city. You come to our community to buy our women. You know, for cheaper price, for less. For cheaper price, definitely, or just to take it. You know what I mean? Women know how that is, and they just to take it. I'm not giving you a dime. You know what I mean? Why aren't they being held accountable? What we started doing was showing up in court when they had to go to court. You know, bunches of us looking at the judge. How you gonna do this one? And he knew we were there. You know, it seemed like that was the only time that we really got some
Pressure.
You know, you're gonna get this or that. But we have to ask ourselves, why aren't they being held accountable?
And I need to say this
Whose
to us.
husbands, whose brothers are they? Who they belong to?
And for those of us in the room who are working with service providers, right? If you're working in a treatment center, or if you have any engagement with men in treatment, right? You need to be able to have the conversation, run those groups and those workshops as well. Because I work at a stabilization for men, and they have a rolling joke that I went and got a package and I picked up a girl. So I said, well, let's get into it. Since you want to share that on a group level, let's have those conversations. So we got to be able, as service providers as well, if we're in those places where they're going to detox or incarcerated, we need to tell those people that perhaps there should be a group about this. There should be a workshop about this. Because if we don't address the buyers in those levels too, then we're not combating this effectively, I think. So I have those conversations, and I have those and I say what they have all kind of woman issues, mommy issues, entitlement issues, and so we need to be able to have those conversations as service providers with the men as well. Catch them at their lowest suit and just call it like you see it. You want to have the conversation? Let's get it. We need to definitely have more awarenesses for them to let them know, we see you, we know what you're doing, we're going to help you too, but this is why this is not okay, and this is how we see, here's some tools that perhaps you can take with you to perhaps stop that, because what if this is your daughter or your sister and your mother? Would you want somebody buying them? And so I catch them in their moments of clarity to have a real conversation when they think this shit's a joke. Okay, come on now.
The last one is because I actually ran the John School that Benita's talking about. And before I got into the John school, I got arrested. And when I got arrested with the John, and Vice would take me out and put me in the car and let him go, I used to ask, how come he gets to leave? I did my crime, but I needed him to do it.
Right, that part.
So the thing, his response to that was, he has rights.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So what it is, it's about the rights that they're giving to the buyers.
Right.
Exactly. And that's why we talk about this is an extension of slavery.
Right.
We are still buying. You can't buy a human being, even if they're okay. I don't care what color you are. You can do it. So the fact that we have buyers and they are getting arrested and then played down because they get a plea deal, which gets them down to disorderly conduct. We don't get that.
Yeah, that's the power. That's the power.
That's the power and control.
I want to hear from you.
Hi. My question is simply the fact that we all understand, like as women of color, women specifically Black women, that we exist in this structure where one of the biggest implicit biases we face is that we're Jezebels and we love this promiscuity.
Correct.
But on a federal level, when you're working with, we talked about the fact that sex buyers are white men, but so are policymakers, and so are
Judges, lawyers.
So my question is, the other implicit bias that we face is when we speak up about this, we are labeled as angry Black women. My biggest question is when we're entering these spaces, I really have to toe the line between like trying to advocate, but also trying to be heard.
Yes.
And I guess how do we enter these places where we're supposed to be speaking up and pushing against policy and speaking for the voices of all of these people without running into that other bias where they shut down and they stop listening, and even white women just get called hysterical.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, may I ask you please, what is your profession or job?
I am about to start with Rights for Girls.
Oh, Well, here's what, in this whole crazy system that we have of criminal injustice, you have to have somebody on the inside that is willing to risk advocating. They called me Miss Documentation. Because if you didn't write it, it never happened. Okay?
Wow.
So our enemy is psychiatry and psychology, which the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. You know you Black women are disordered, okay? And when you have those types of labels that are applied, which we are required to do for billing, you got a code there, that is an oppression. That is being used to keep women, Black women, from even getting into programs through the criminal justice system, anything, because why bother?
Right.
Because she's borderline. Like the border of Mexico or Canada. I don't know.
Yes,
That's one of the things.
Wait, because we're running out of time. Listen, again, this panel should be longer. That's another story. That's another story.
We're talking about.
But we're gonna work with what we have. We're gonna work with what we have, and we have like 5 minutes. But one of the things, since you're getting ready to work with Rights for Girls, you hear it over and over again. You have to bring survivors, because I don't give a shit. Yes. Right? If they're not, again, it goes to the survivor and the allyship. Right. A lot of times when you're speaking to people and testifying, there's room for panels. Right. Right? So when in your position and a couple survivors go up there and speak, because we need the ally voices. So that will help you to be heard, even, right? Because sometimes like, oh, you don't know nothing about that. So you bring the backup with the ammunition that you need, because we don't give a shit. We'll go.
That's right, that part. Very cool. Don't get too sick.
Speak their language. Okay, but we only have a few minutes. 2 seconds. 2 seconds, Joy.
The other thing you do is grab numbers.
There are legal arrests of who got arrested, like we got congressmen who have been arrested.
Yep.
Pull that stuff out, call out
Come
names,
on.
and that'll prove to them this is real. That's what I'm saying though.
That's right.
If they're
That's
out there with survivors,
That's right.
have the
Gotta
survivors
show
pull
it.
the names.
Data.
We don't have a problem.
Data. Everyone wants data.
Yeah.
Everyone.
We like doing stuff like that, FYI.
So
Just-
let me bring
we don't
us
mind
back.
getting dirty.
Bring us back. One thing we know, you can't argue data. Everyone wants to
Right.
sit with
That's what
data.
I'm saying.
So that makes
Don't
sense.
lie.
Now, this is important. With so many barriers for black and brown people, both in and out of the life, why do you, and I'm gonna address this to the black and brown women on this panel. Benita, I'll start with you. Why do you still do this work? You've retired, but I still see you every day.
I think that's funny. Because it's gotta be done.
Yes.
Because our women are suffering. And I know why a lot of black women aren't getting in this movement. This is a hard and difficult movement to work in.
Right.
But somebody's gotta do it. We gotta do it so our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren don't have to go.
never a job.
Yeah, because it is not a job. So I keep doing it. Every time I read the paper, every time I hear a statistic, we gotta do it. We just have to do it.
This has been my life's work because I remember how I felt when I was out there. And I, especially at the age of 18 and 21. And they told me that that's what I wanted to do, that there was a choice, one choice. You can't make a choice if you're on drugs.
Oh,
I know. You can't make a choice. And so that's why.
Or if you're a child.
Or if you're a child. And for me, I say, for now on, and then, let me just speak a little bit to the personality and our characteristics. When I raise my voice, I'm not yelling, I'm just passionate. Right? Because I've been in places and spaces where I'm perceived as angry, loud, and all the things. Well, this is my culture, right? So I talk a little bit louder than you. That doesn't mean that I'm yelling that I'm angry, just passionate about what I'm doing. This phenomenon, this human trafficking, commercial sexual exploitation, and prostitution, people who have been prostituted, is my life. It's been all of my life. So how can I not be passionate when the topic comes up, or when I need to defend, advocate, or whatever the case may be? So stop seeing me as the angry black woman who's being loud and wants to say and being mean, and see me as a person who's passionate about the trauma that she's experienced in her life and in the work that she's doing. Right?
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, so I stay in this line of work because it's my life. That's why I do it.
Come on, Joy.
I'm in this line of work, and first I just want to say, all black folks ain't loud. So that stereotype in our culture, that's not our culture. All black, she ain't loud.
I know.
You better hear her. But if you look, Jeanette's loud, she's not black.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, she's an angry white woman. Back there, that's loud, angry, very angry. I said
I'm unapologetically loud as fuck.
All right, now, and are you guys?
The reason I stay in this work is because if I don't, who will?
That's right.
My sisters and brothers out here who are falling prey to this, I bring the truth.
That's right.
You're not gonna get facade from me. You're not gonna get some facade from the people up here. Right. If we don't do this work, sugarcoating will come out.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
So we all gonna keep being loud.
One of the other questions, because I do want to make room for a conversation, I'm gonna ask one for this panel. We talked about why we do the work, but most of us up here, we've been doing this for years. I know for myself, 22 years, and I know I do it. Again, I don't think any human being should be sold, but for me, it's the fight for black and brown people. And as I said yesterday, I'm not speaking for the voiceless. I speak for those who don't know they have a voice.
That's right.
That
part.
You know what I mean? And so that's why I continue to stay in this movement, because I know it will be black and brown people who will pay the highest price if we were to ever legalize prostitution or prostitution. But with that said, we've been doing this work, but what has worked and what has not worked?
In the work. Yeah, I think what has worked, since I've done direct services and some policy work, you almost can't do this work without doing both. But anyway, I think what's worked with the women, the black women, is hearing them and just letting them know you deserve better.
Right.
Really getting to their heart. And it's not gonna happen overnight. You know, letting them know that, but keep taking them in. See, a lot of programs, you miss 4 times, don't come back.
Right.
You can just keep coming back, because see, that prostitution does something to you.
Right.
You're in one day, it is a process, yeah.
That's a
The next day you're down, you're up and you're down, and you're trying to figure out, why am I all feeling this way?
Exactly.
And the other thing that works is being up in, and I put it like this, just keeping it real, being up in the faces of people. Those that we need to be up, judges, police officers, all those people that can do things, make things happen. We have to constantly, and that's hard too, but we have to do that. We have to get up there and we have to talk and we have to keep doing it until things start to change.
What works is consistency.
Right.
Inconsistency.
Yeah.
Right. If you get on your soapbox for it, then ride the wave. There's no, you don't get off at this stop and take a pause. You gotta ride the wave. Like consistency definitely is the key on all levels of this, right? And so if you're meeting with people, if you do frontline work consistently, they depend on you to come out there and meet with them.
Yeah.
If you're doing policy, you're part of a group, and you consistently meet with those groups, so be accountable and send those emails and those texts and things of that nature. It depends on where you're at and how you choose to address this movement. Just consistency, because inconsistency will say, see, they don't even give a damn, they don't care. They never do this, they never do that, or we only see her here or there. Consistency is the key. I think for me, when I ask folks, people that I've helped exit, right, in the long scheme of things, who have years out of their life, right, when I asked them what happened, they said, you were always there. You never hung the phone with me. I thank God, I work for an organization, a consultant organization now, where our services they were indefinite, so we didn't have a cap. We don't have 2 to 4 years, once you get better, get out. It was, we can rock with you as long as you want to rock with us. But the relationships change. You go from every day and every week to maybe once a month, maybe every 6 months. When you get married, when you get your kids back, we reunify with you. So it's things like that. It's consistency and just follow through and wrap around services. Just really being consistent. Consistency for me is the key, and an indefinite consistency. We don't shut up because you're healed after 5 years. And 10 years, if you want to call me, come to your graduation, or you want to come to your wedding, let's do it.
That's right.
Just consistency and keep those open relationships.
And can I also add, Joy, before you jump in, I also want to say for agencies that are predominantly white agencies that are in the Black and brown community, what works is hiring some Black and brown people. An organization full of white, an organization, and it doesn't mean that your work is invaluable, because we need the allyship. Absolutely.
Yes, we do.
And this isn't about me. We always have to remember, it's about who we serve. Not being the white hero and I'm running this organization. If you don't have the people working that look like the people you're serving, you're doing a disservice.
100%. And the salary, Audrey.
And you gotta pay us. Yes.
Right now.
And the salary.
Right now, in social work in the United States, we have only 22% of all social workers are Black. Okay? And part of that is, if you work in certain sectors within social work, like substance abuse, that's the lowest paid that there is. Okay, next up from that is the criminal injustice system, and then it goes on up, right? Okay, so we can't get the Black women in this system, although that 22% of Black women, because we're not willing to pay them.
That's right.
We already know white women on top for pay, and then it moves on down to the bottom. Okay? And they can't make a living. That's why we don't have them.
She might be Black. I'm sorry. Joy, take us home, and then I want to hear from the audience. And we only have about 4 minutes, so we can give people room for comments. And we can go right ahead.
What's not working is that, sisters, I need us to stop settling. We need to stop settling.
That's right.
We settle because of the Black and white family. Stop settling. Everybody who calls me, I don't go by federal rates. I could care less what federal's talking about for my pay.
Right.
I put my pay on there.
Yeah.
Because I put my value on me.
Right.
This is how low I go. If you can't pay it, you don't want me. And you move that aside. Now, I know we gotta survive, but we skilled.
Right.
So understanding that in programs, you cannot treat each of us the same just because we are brown-skinned.
Right.
You need to have client-centered and understand what that means. We all come from different walks of life, even though our skin tones are different, are the same, so to speak. We all still came from different backgrounds, okay? And we were in this life at different levels. So the impacts we have are going to vary. So when you have programs, seriously have them customized around the individual. The baseline is one thing. Yes, you provide this. Yes, you can walk in. Something I'd like to break you free. We work with victims who still are involved in the life. We do not turn them around because we know they walk out of our door and turn tricks. We cannot give them a place to stay tonight. They have to survive when they leave our program. It's called planting seeds.
Facts.
The consistency, as they were talking about,
Plants,
is
plants,
watering
plant,
that
ladies.
seed every time you encounter them.
That's right.
And let the roots take hold
That's right.
of this good soil.
That's
And then
right.
it will grow and come to that door and go, hey, guess what I did?
That's right.
I know I ain't been here, but I got into school.
That's
Come
right.
on, thank you.
Yep.
And you give them, like you said, Benita always said, you can tell them you love them. Which is social service. I go, don't you tell them?
I do.
Right.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
You don't give them a
that. Yeah.
When we talk about
We hug, we love
caring and
you.
compassion, you ask a person if they'd like.
That's
a
right.
hug.
That's right.
You
Ask
not
them.
just give them one because they're a victim.
That's right.
I need to ask her, is it okay?
Yep.
Do you need or want a hug?
Right.
And if they say yes, you do the 2-second, 3-second.
Joy, can I just say that last comment and then this young lady's going,
Oh, yes, I would like to ask all of you, since we were talking about data collection and all of that, on any form that you see that lists race, my friends, that is a political construct.
Yep.
The color of your skin is not.
Exactly.
So when you check off, when it says other, what you put on there is human race. Because when you are checking off race, they're going to take that data and formulate services to the white.
Exactly.
Okay? That's what's happening. They're taking this data and cutting out women of color is what they're doing. Please do not check white, black, non-Hispanic, blah, blah, blah. Your human race.
Thank you, love. All right, let's start with, I know you have a comment and then you'll go next. Come on, sister.
Hi, my name is Yasmin. I'm part of the Sex Trade Survivor Caucus. I'm also what I call a literary activist and author of the book Survivor Soul Speaks. Everything that you guys touched on hits home deeply with me. I've heard, especially when you said listen to Black survivors, some of the things that I've said, like I've heard, what the fuck is that rocket pussy? Too much for a black girl? Or can you rape a prostitute after I reported being raped? Certain things like that. The injustices, it creates a level of anger and frustration because not only are you not feeling heard. Now I'm in a space now where I just got chosen to be on the Survival Resiliency Council. This is like the first thing that they're doing in Washington State with healing, support, and transformation services. But previous to that, and a lot of the work that I'm doing is pro bono, and I don't know as a survivor how I advocate to be able to get it. You say you hire survivors, like I go in these spaces and they're like, oh, we need survivors who are green, who are able to help for the movement. I'm like, well, hello, I'm here and I'm not getting paid. And it brings up that trauma of the
Right. Yes.
How do I
Right.
navigate through that? Because I don't have that support system that's going to go to bat. I do have an organization. She said, look, I'm going to advocate for you because it pissed me off that they're asking for people to get paid and you're in this space for free. You know, and you want to help out because it's something that's genuinely close to your heart, but how do we navigate
And you
through
know
that?
what but support with that? Allyship. It takes me back to when I first started in this movement and my co-executive director, Lisa Gold-Black Grace, if it were not for her.
Come on now.
If it were not for a white woman, because people would ask her, do you pay her? And she would be like, absolutely. Or they would call her a conference like this and say, we need an expert. Could you come and speak? And then can you send us Audrey, the survivor? And she would say to them, I'm not coming. Audrey is a survivor and she is the expert, and that's who will be there.
That's right.
And so that is where white allyship goes a long way. Come on, sister in the back.
Sorry, I had to say that.
Come on.
One, I really appreciate it. Thank you all for sharing your stories. So I work in the space where children are being trafficked. I'm very new to this topic. I worked in the abolition space for a long time. Not different, but related. And you guys touched on it a little bit, but if you have any extra advice, I'm gonna be real, I work at a very white savior company that I just started 3 weeks ago. I have a lot of conflictions if I can even stay there. One of my challenges right now is we're based in Philly. Philly will not acknowledge publicly that this is a problem. The data is completely hidden, and actually our Department of Human Services has a lot of black women who works in this space. They will not acknowledge it. Our own bias is coming out through the system because even though they are identifying some of the kids, what all the folks on the ground and the survivors are saying are like, I know they're not identifying the kids because the numbers are so low.
Right.
But we are seeing them because we know the signs. And to me, it's like they're refusing to identify for a whole host of political reasons. But I also think it has to do with the bias. I think they are deeming our kids behavioral. Not any advice you have from the child sector, and then of course, right, it's breaking up families.
Correct.
Philly is actually, if you don't know this, Philly is literally like the top in the country that actually has the highest for black children in the Department of Human Services, and there is some weird underlying hidden code right now for kids who are being trafficked.
I will say this, in Massachusetts, because I work with kids, and first of all, you need to start keeping your own records. And then you need to start, like they started like a steering committee in Massachusetts. And the folks, what is the, I'm having a senior moment, the folks who interview kids after they've been raped.
CAC.
The CAC, you need to partner with CACs because CACs are seeing those children.
Right.
And so what we did in Massachusetts,
This Child Advocacy Center.
The Child Advocacy Center, organizations that work with youth, the Department of Children and Families, and they've been coming together in meeting for probably close to 20 years now.
Right.
So you have to bring the community partners together who are working with these communities, and those numbers will surely add up.
So the one last comment I'll make is, we have about 120 community providers that come together. They are complaining, so the problem is DHS is involved in a lot of those places and with contracts. So there's a handoff that is happening. And they are not actually going back and giving the providers the rest of the data when it is because of the removal piece. But to your point about the CACs, and I will look into that, one of the challenges that I did learn is for some reason they are actually excluding kids who have been trafficked from getting forensic status. And I don't know why they're doing that.
They need training. Reach out to my.
Reach out to
They need some training.
We train.
FBI, all of them.
I will be out.
Reach out, yes.
Talk to me after.
All right.
Okay.
One last comment. How much time do we have?
That's the white girl.
None, but we're gonna take
I wanted to say something. As
Come on,
a
Terry.
survivor,
Ain't no letting it
like,
in.
one of the things we didn't mention was, I was getting arrested all the time, Joy. All the time. Why didn't I never go to prison? Why didn't I never go to prison? I would knock on wood, praise the Lord. But why did I never go to prison? And then the other thing I want to say is that I knew this. White people don't always go to the same jail.
Yes.
There are rooms in the jail. Now, I did because I was a crack hoe, so I was put in the same. Because I had friends that had a lot of money, and they wasn't locked up with me. You know, they.
I love survivors.
In all seriousness, we've gone to jail together and I've never seen her in jail. She has felonies and has never gone to prison. I don't have felonies. I don't have felonies, and I have. So when we look at this,
I never went to prison.
when we look at this, I mean, she's an exception to as far as having all those records, like we would get. She's an exception.
But what she's saying, she didn't get time.
Correct.
Where a lot of black women do 2 years, 5 years, when their charges built up. More time. God damn it, I'm the moderator and I I'm saying that to say, hearing her message, because when we're talking over each other, we miss what she just said. And I just want to thank all of you for coming. Hope it's lunchtime. There's a therapist, so if you need to debrief, find out where she is. And there's some clinical people in the room, and if you need to check in with somebody after this, please follow up and take care of yourself. That's it.
What we got? Some rice. What we making, tacos?
Yeah, it was nice meeting you though.
I'm just being nosy to see what it is. Got a salad ball. Alright, so I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back in a while. I'll be back.